Yo, okay, so I saw this thing
If alrighty, no, I'm just kidding.
on the internet the other day that made me want to face palm so hard. Like, I'm so sick of people that aren't disabled making inventions for disabled people that make no fucking sense.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm so tired of it. Like,
it's honestly so funny when you explain it because it makes total sense. But people that are like not disabled are like, I'm going to be the guy that creates the thing that changes wheelchair users' lives. But they don't actually ever stop to consider what wheelchair users actually want or need.
yeah, I saw it. It was a set of wheels that you would take off your wheelchair and then fold in half to save space.
When you're putting it in your car?
Yeah, you basically like would fold it in half. So you had to have a solid rubber tire. You had to have a bunch of gears and moving parts. It weighed a shit ton. But the problem that they were trying to solve was that wheelchair wheels are too big to fit inside a car, so you have to make them smaller. Hey, people, that's not a problem. That you're making something have more chances.
The frame is bigger than the wheels.
Yeah, it's like more chances of the wheel breaking. It weighs more. It's a solid tire. It's an uncomfortable ride. Why did you think, where is this a problem? Did any person with a disability ever complain about this? No.
This wheelchair would be perfect if only I had folding wheels.
Yeah, you just made up some nonsense. And it's like this other thing where like there's this huge...
And there would be like play in your pushes too,
yeah,
right?
So
like there'd be a little bit of wobble.
It wouldn't be rigid anymore. And there's also this huge new thing where people are making these like massive, heavy, cumbersome, technologically complicated, battery-draining power wheelchairs that go upstairs. And even attachments for manual wheelchairs. And it's like, able-bodied thinking is this. All right, so wheelchair... people have a hard time going upstairs. Let's make them a wheelchair that gets them upstairs. Problem solved. And it's like, correct. However, you've created a ton more problems. Like, how are we going to transport this thing? How are we going to charge this thing? How often are we really going upstairs and is it getting in the way? Is it draining battery? Like, what is this? How expensive is it? Like, what is this idea? It's like, would you want to carry around a 20-pound backpack that you could never go upstairs unless you were always carrying around a 20-pound backpack?
No.
Would you carry around a 20-pound backpack? No.
It's like the equivalent of like over-engineering something that just has like the simplest problem. Like NASA invented the space pen that was pressurized and they spent thousands and millions of dollars inventing this pen that could work in space. Meanwhile, the Russians were using pencils. Yeah. Like, you know, but
the challenge is the graphite would get into the computers and fry stuff. But.
It wasn't a super simple problem. You're right. Mm-hmm. The graphite comes off and ruins things. But it reminds me of that. It also reminds me of like problems that instead of trying to fix like, hey, how about we build ramps for people instead of like trying to build them this giant thing? I think about it from the video world. People they're like, what's the biggest problem right now? People don't have steady video. Let's make a gimbal that they're gonna like. There's gimbals are cool. Like steady cams are really cool. But there are people out there that think that in order to shoot any video that they're about to shoot, they gotta bust out their giant ass gimbal. And it's like, okay, number one, you gotta charge the gimbal. So you gotta have extra batteries that are charged in addition to your camera batteries that are charged. Number two, you're not going to be able to be as run and gun because you're having this giant thing that you're having to like wield around with two hands versus being able to like actually fuck with the camera and its settings and zoom and all that. Mm-hmm. And like, if you mess with one little thing, like it comes unbalanced, all this stuff. It basically makes filmmaking extremely inconvenient. Granted, if you really need a super steady shot that's awesome and epic and cinematic and it's going to be, for a action sequence, yeah, use the gimbal. But like, if you're taking I can't tell you how many times I see people walking around with those stupid handheld gimbals for their phones.
Oh God, yeah.
And they're just like videoing their kids. It's like, I get it that it's like a fun toy, but you don't need a gimbal for everything.
Well,
dude.
this is my thought. It's like people are creating a solution to something that there is not really a problem to. It might be a minor problem, but it's not really a problem.
It solves a problem for certain things.
Like I saw one where it's like, remember that that carbon fiber chair that we saw that was just, I mean,
Awful.
the
With the
worst-
lights on it.
I mean, terrible design, huge, bulky shape.
It's ugly as
It's,
shit.
Sure, it weighs 15 pounds, but it's one of the most atrocious wheelchairs I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I saw one.
And it's completely rigid. Like, it doesn't come apart, right? Like, maybe you could take the wheels off, but I don't know.
Whatever,
It
dude.
was like
I
a
don't-
weird shape.
It was like just disgusting. And then even I saw one where like Toyota made this like F1 wheelchair, and I'm like, I looked at it and I was like, okay, there's not cushions or padding on it. The wheels don't really detach. The backrest is way too low.
How was it an F1 wheelchair? It had like a steering wheel?
No, because it was all like sleek and tiny and carbon fiber technology and like
Oh.
all this stuff. It was like
I was imagining like the little steering wheel with like a screen on it.
no,
a
dude,
hand
it was basically this extremely expensive, like highly designed, completely
Aerodynamic.
impractical wheelchair unless you were like an amputee or a non-paralyzed wheelchair user, or you were like a super low level injury like me. Like it made no sense to anyone. And again, I'm like, oh, able-bodied people made this. You know,
Yeah.
like there's even this stupid thing where it's like,
The ableds are at it again.
I saw this one. It's like, okay, temperature control, regulation, and overheating is definitely something that people with spinal cord injuries have to deal with, especially in the summer. But am I going to add an air conditioning system that's attached to a cushion on my wheelchair? No. I'm just going to get a spray bottle or a washcloth or drink extra water or sit in the shade. I have no desire to attach some type of heavy, battery-powered, cumbersome ass cooler just so I sweat a little bit less. Like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? Like, there's just so many things. I saw another.
That'd be the equivalent of like an able-bodied person carrying around a backpack that has an air conditioning thing for your back.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
It's so dumb.
you know, I
This
saw.
reminds me of Pimp My Ride.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Now people will just like they'll add,
So
like,
we heard you like changing your own oil, so we put a TV underneath so you can watch tutorials about how to change your oil.
exactly.
Oh, we knew you were a successful barber, so we decided to turn the back seat of your van into a portable barber shop so you can cut hair on the road. It's like, yo, I cut hair at a place. Like, why would I ever want this in my car? I want like hair clippings in the back of my van constantly. No thanks.
Yeah, it just drives me nuts because the people that actually are creating like cool inventions and that are creating stuff for people with disabilities aren't all wheelchair users, but the ones that aren't heavily consult wheelchair users. They are deep in the community. They have test runs, they have conversations, they have people work it out. Like, they are not going to like have a committee about it. They're not going to go to a design company about it. Like, they're just going to plop people in and listen to what they say. And those are the type of accessories that I get stoked about. I think about like push rims, I think about like casters and suspension, and I think about, you know, like certain bags and bag attachments, and like there's a lot of good stuff out there, but it's mostly in a sea of crap.
Yeah, there's a lot of BS and stuff that's just straight up ugly too.
Yeah, I get so,
Under-engineered versus over-engineered that doesn't work right.
I don't know. It's like, here, let me solve a problem that you don't have by making something that's more expensive, that's going to be more troublesome for you,
And it's gonna weigh more.
and it's like it's gonna
It
it's
solves
not
this one problem, but it doesn't solve everything else.
it creates more problems than it solves.
Exactly.
And I get so
That's what I think about
get
with the gimbal.
So frustrated when it comes to stuff like that, especially when people are like, excuse my language, like are suckers for it and that buy it. They thinking it's like, oh well, if you have
Did
this,
you just cuss? You said sucker.
what
You said excuse my language. I was just.
did I? Oh, I meant.
You said excuse my language, but they're suckers.
I guess I meant that not to
Dude,
offend.
he just swore.
I meant that in the sense of not to offend the people that have
I
bought
know,
the
I
things,
know.
and then
It was
wait.
just funny that you said excuse my language. And
Well, because it was kind of
we've
mean.
been cussing the whole time.
It was kind of mean because
is
it's
kinda
like
mean.
it's like, imagine if you are a person that bought something that you're like, this is gonna make my life so much easier, and you spend a bunch of money on it, and then you're like not regularly using it.
Excuse my language, but you're kind of a little stinker if you bought one of these.
Top 5 YouTubers who've sworn.
Speaking of the Pimp My Ride thing, do you remember that Filthy Frank video, the Pimp My Wheelchair video? Oh my God, we gotta watch that sometime. It's funny. It's like a power wheelchair, and the intro.
I didn't know I didn't know it was a Filthy Frank video.
I think it's Filthy Frank, isn't it?
'Cause
You've seen it, right?
Let me look.
Because
Yeah.
in all my research that I do on all my videos, I'm searching the word wheelchair a lot, and I've seen that video come up a lot, but I don't think it's Filthy Frank.
I thought it was Filthy Frank. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, AJ's gonna
It's
verify.
Filthy Frank.
It is Filthy Frank.
It is the Pimp My Wheelchair, and it's like some black dude.
Yeah,
who's
it's
like,
the black dude
yeah,
in the power wheelchair.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Filthy
yeah.
Frank.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
like, "What's up, YouTube?"
That's it. That's it.
The intro is amazing. How they actually
He, like-
animated like a little wheelchair, like how in the Pimp My Ride style. It's
They
so
insult
funny.
and they insult him, and he like tries to insult him back.
Oh my God,
It's so
that's so
good.
funny.
Dude, I saw this funny thing that on TikTok the other day, and it was like talking about the like lore of Filthy Frank, and it was like how Filthy Frank had like this really
Well, Filthy Frank is just a character that Joji made. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And basically it was this whole thing saying that there was like a thing that he said that became like an important meme that then he became Joji and made another song that became like an important meme on TikTok, and like all this stuff basically saying like Joji's the most important character on the internet kind of thing.
Pink guy.
Yeah. Oh my
Pink
gosh.
guy.
I really loved his old
Yeah.
videos. They were amazing. Filthy Frank was a great.
Yo, so speaking
he couldn't exist now though.
No. So it's kind of like Rich Brian's previous name. He went by Rich
Rich
Chigga. And then he also would drop the N-word in his songs a lot. And people were like, hey guy from Indonesia who's not even Chinese, who's calling himself Rich Chigga, you should stop saying the N-word. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yo, so
Even Wigga is a little bit weird too. Like
it's kind of
people are like,
that's kind of insulting. It's like
yeah,
Wigga was a thing that was used when people were like trying to look like Eminem.
yeah.
Back in the 2000s, they'd shave head, white t-shirt, baggy jeans, and be like, man, why you gotta act like you black? Like you a white dude. What are you, some type of Wigga? And it's like, whoa!
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Can't wait for
Yeah.
this to get clipped.
Yeah, people might even be mad about us saying that right now, but yeah, I was watching No Jumper, and they were talking about how Adam 22 is always being called a wigger back in the day.
But now he's not in any way, shape, or form. Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want the full episode, you can click right here. If you want to subscribe, click here. If you want more clips, we got 2 more right over here.